I hope you don't mind my music. For me, music is life. It's literally the only way I survive. Like, especially jazz. I love jazz, right? This song in particular takes me back to a time. Like, a time when things were really, really going wrong in my life, right? And I used to run helter skelter looking for help, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, let me turn that off. When things are going wrong, that's the only thing you should do. You should pray, that I know, or meditate, whatever you do, but do something about it, right? On the good side. So I used to run around because I felt like, obviously, if things were going so wrong, I must have a few enemies, right? Imagine my surprise when I found out it was a whole village of them. Not a few, a whole village of them. Let me introduce myself. Hello everyone, welcome back to Isadora. It's really great to be back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been viewing the channel, welcome back. So today, we're talking about the enemies within. Now, I started off by saying how things were going so wrong at a point in time in my life, right? So at this time, I was going through a very vicious cycle. What would happen was, I would start a business and it would be going so great. And give it about 2 years, right? With loads and loads of customers. And something would come from nowhere and consume that business. It could be anything. It could be fire. Like, I would literally get there in the morning and fire would have grazed the entire business. It could be that the chef would make a way. Okay, like, I'm a chef, right? So I would run restaurants. And the chef would have just made away with all the equipment. It was one thing or the other all the time. So I told myself, no more business. I'm going to put that aside and seek employment. So I did that. And it was pretty much the same thing. It would be one thing or the other every day, and it was ridiculous, right? Till I discovered something. Now, you see how people run around and say, oh, my enemies. Like, everybody's got enemies, right? Everybody does. So, and the more enemies you have, congratulations. It means you're really special, because armed robbers don't go to empty houses. Think about that. Anyway, we can divide these enemies into 3 different parts. So, they're the enemies without. Those are the enemies that are really far away. These ones, sometimes you know them. Sometimes you don't even know them. They're not people that are necessarily close to you, right? So these ones are just people that hate you just because you're alive. They don't need a reason to hate you. The fact that you wake up in the morning and you breathe is annoying to them, and they hate you for that, right? So those are the enemies without, and you shouldn't really bother your head so much about them, because they can't really get to you. They can, I mean, with evil eye and all that, but if you're a prayerful person, they can't really get to you per se, right? So you should bother, but not necessarily, not about them. They're not close enough. Then there are the hidden enemies, right? These are the friends, family, people that are really close to you. They're called hidden enemies because if they are obvious, then they wouldn't be so close to you. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so they're the hidden enemies. Now, these ones are a bit more dangerous, right? Because they're closer to you, so they can keep an eye on you. Now, the reason why they're a bit more dangerous is because they are the ones that can give the enemies without access to you. Does that make sense? So the people that don't know you can run around and say, oh, who knows this person? Okay, let's look for the friend, or let's look for the family member. Do you understand? That can go against this person, that can betray this person, that can rat this person out. Does that make sense? So the enemies without can't really access you without the hidden enemies. Now, the most dangerous enemy is the enemy within. The enemy that is you. Inside of you. Let me break this down. So when I was going through this cycle, I was experiencing something, and that was my weakness. It was insecurity. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't insecure about my looks. I wasn't insecure about clothes and all those mundane things. I wasn't insecure about those things. I was really insecure about the way things were going in my life. It was hard to explain, right? So I was really conscious of it. I was really insecure about it. And for me, like, I'm an extreme introvert and I'm an extreme extrovert as well. Like, I can be very extroverted and I can be extremely introverted. So I just go either way. So I would make a lot of friends. Like, I would be the life of the party, right? Make a lot of friends, and after a while, I would tend to remove myself from that friendship. Just cut off. Not in a malicious way, but just remove myself. And then move on to, like, maybe other friends. The reason why I did that most of the time was because it was difficult trying to explain to people why things were constantly going wrong. So I know this set of people today, and they would say, so what happened to that business? Oh, this happened. I didn't want to keep explaining. So I would tend to remove myself from friendships and situations and then go into other friendships. But that wasn't the real problem. The thing was, I felt like I needed to explain to the people in my life. Okay, maybe the new people. Okay, yes. So, there's always that prayer. The latter would always be better than the former. So I'll try to explain to them why the former, I lost it. But then I would keep talking and I would tell them about, what I had in the past, what I'd lost, or what I'm doing now, what steps I'm taking now, what I'm doing next, or this next big thing. Oh yeah, I had that big thing in the past and, I lost it, but yeah, I'm moving forward and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this. I'm taking this step. So my biggest enemy was my mouth. What I was doing was setting myself up for the next downfall. Literally. I didn't wait to decipher who I was speaking to or the people, places, and things I was in my life. I just kept talking because I was insecure and I was trying to make up for that insecurity. I was trying to explain my way out of it. So I kept giving my enemies the gun to shoot me, and it was my mouth. I told them what I was doing, my next step, where I was going. I told them everything. That was my enemy. It wasn't so much the hidden enemies or the enemies without, my mouth. So what's your enemy? What's your greatest enemy? Could it be lust? Like, once you see that girl in that tight dress, that body, those legs, you just have to have it. You could be a woman. Once you see that guy in his lovely car, in his suit or his outfit and his shoes and his watch and everything, you just have to have him. And then you do. When you realize it's not working out for you, she goes psycho on you. Probably starts to turn up at your workplace, call you, blow up your phone, and you're regretting, why did I do this? Or you realize it's not working out as a woman, and this man is prepared to ruin your life if you break up with him. What's your greatest enemy? Could it be greed? Oh, I live in a mansion, but my friend has a bungalow and I want it. I don't want a bungalow that looks like it. I want that one. My brother has a duplex and I want it. My sister has a beautiful car. Oh, I'm so jealous. I hope something bad happens to that car. What's your enemy? Could it be gluttony? Gluttony is not limited to just food, right? It could be drinking. It could be alcohol. It's gluttony when you can't put that bottle down every day. I mean, deep down, you probably know that you shouldn't be drinking so much, but you can't put that bottle down. You keep making excuses after excuses why you just have to drink, why you just have to take that just one last glass. What's that generic name they call alcohol? Spirit. Spirit, right? And you think it's going to be easy to put that down when you are consuming that. If you know, you know. Anyway, you know, the word of God says that pray for your enemies, but bind the powers behind them. Sometimes we think it's crazy, like we want to tell, we all do it. When you're going through something, you just want to say, my enemies die. I'm not being funny. Yes, I have done that in the past. I mean, everyone has, to an extent. But the word of God says, pray for your enemies, but bind the powers. There's a reason for that. Because sometimes the enemy you're praying about is yourself. I prayed for my enemies to die so much. My mouth stopped working. Literally, I've become permanently silent. I've become so silent. Seriously. You can't blame me. I kept praying for my enemies to die, so I was killing my mouth. Sometimes the enemy you're praying against is you. That's why the word of God says, pray for your enemies, but bind the powers. Bind that spirit that won't let you put down that bottle. Bind that greed. Bind that lust. Sometimes the greatest enemy is you. And you're praying about them. Or you're praying against them. It's not so much, because if you do not give the hidden ones ammunition to attack you, then they don't have anything on you. If the hidden ones don't have anything on you, the enemies without can't get to you. Think about it. Sometimes the greatest enemy is you, within you. We need to look out for that. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful week. I love you all. Namaste.